Vietnam to gradually lift COVID-19 control measures. Schools at low-risk provinces can be reopened. PPP projects must have investment of more than 4.4 million US dollars. Good morning, this is FBNC News and I'm Truyền. Now, Vietnam reported no new COVID-19 cases on the morning of April 21st, making it 5 days in succession without any new patients. The total number of infections in the country stays at 268, with 160 people returned from overseas and 108 infected people from the community. Currently, only 53 patients are being quarantined and treated at 9 health centers across the country. This once again proves that social distancing and other prevention measures are working effectively. In a meeting in Hanoi on April 20th, Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc said the country could start gradually loosening COVID-19 containment measures. However, in the meantime, he warned that risks still remained high, so citizens must continue following prevention measures, including social distancing, to stem the virus. The Prime Minister also agreed with the Ministry of Health's proposal to increase exports of face masks as the nation now has sufficient reserves. Regarding the repatriation of Vietnamese citizens, the Prime Minister assigned the Ministries of Health, Foreign Affairs, Transport and Defense to decide on the number of flights carrying nationals home based on the developments of COVID-19 pandemic. At a meeting earlier the same day, the National Steering Committee for COVID-19 Prevention and Control said Vietnam has basically met the demand for confirmatory testing for COVID-19. Across the country, 111 laboratories are now capable of diagnosing the novel coronavirus by using real-time RT-PCR technology. Schools will stay closed if the COVID-19 situation in the local area remains with high risk of spreading the disease, while those classified at low risk will consider local circumstances in deciding upon a reopening date.
On April 20, Deputy Minister of Education and Training Nguyen Hu Do said that localities with high risk of spreading COVID-19 are not to reopen their schools at this time, but must bolster online studies. Meanwhile, low-risk provinces and cities can reopen school, with Northern Thai Binh Province and the southernmost province of Cà Mau have been the first to do so. In Cà Mau, students in grade 9 and 12 who prepare for graduation have already returned to classes. Students must have good health before being allowed to go to school, Do said, with face masks worn and body temperature check before and after they arrive at school. Schools have also been told to suspend extracurricular activities and must ensure social distancing, with no more than 20 students in each classroom. Online and face-to-face classes should be combined to ensure the annual curricula is completed on schedule prior on July 15.
EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreements (EVFTA) will benefit the domestic fertilizer sector with more diverse import and export markets, according to industry experts. The EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement (EVFTA), once effective, will lead to reductions in fertilizer export and import duties. However, to optimize the deal, experts suggested the industry make greater efforts to improve products' quality in accordance with EU standards. According to Phạm Minh Lan, head of Fertilizer Management Bureau under the Plant Protection Department of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, fertilizers from EU make up 5.5% of Vietnam's total fertilizer import volume and value. Meanwhile, Vietnam exports around 0.75 million tons of fertilizer, valued at 240 million US dollars, to 47 countries and territories annually, including 5 EU nations, namely Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, Slovenia, and Portugal. Some Vietnamese organic and inorganic fertilizer products have already met standards set by the selective markets. Currently, Vietnam imports about 0.25 million tons of organic fertilizers worth $45 million from 33 countries and territories, with 42% from 9 EU countries, mostly the Netherlands and Belgium. The EU's preference for organic fertilizer over recent years as part of efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and protect the environment will help to spur Vietnam's organic fertilizer development. Vice President of the Vietnam Fertilizer Association Phung Ha said FTAs, including the EVFTA, will benefit the domestic fertilizer sector, helping it diversify import and export markets. The official suggested agencies should map out plans to put an end to the use of chemicals in agriculture in order to help businesses utilize the advantage of FTAs. Deputy Prime Minister Định on April 20th ordered advancing the export quota of 100,000 tons of rice set for May in order to ease difficulties for firms that have rice stocks at ports but are unable to submit customs declarations.
Chairing a meeting on rice exports amidst Covid-19 pandemic, along with the drought and saltwater intrusion, Mr. Yung said glutinous rice can be exported as normal. In the present context, rice export must be considered carefully, with national food security being taken into account in the first place, so as to reduce disruption in the rice production chain and protect legal and legitimate rights of farmers and relevant organizations. Mr. Yung pointed out bottlenecks in rice export management over the past time that need to be addressed, saying the Ministry of Industry and Trade, the Ministry of Finance, and concerned agencies must bear the main responsibility for these problems. Therefore, he asked the two ministries to monitor businesses that have rice stock at ports but are unable to submit custom declarations. Also on April 20, Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc asked the relevant government bodies to conduct inspections over the regulations on rice export management in the past time. During the inspections, rice export will go on as normal.
The National Assembly Standing Committee reached a consensus on the investment scale of public-private partnership or PPP projects on April 20th. Legislators agreed that PPP projects in healthcare and education in remote and extremely disadvantaged areas must have a minimum investment of $4.4 million. PPP projects in other sectors and areas must have a minimum investment of $8.8 million. National Assembly Vice Chairman Phùng Quốc Hiển said the draft law must ensure consistency within the legal system, but could still contain specific regulations to attract investment. The legislators agreed to uphold the responsibilities of people who approved and asserted investment projects. They said there should be a risk-sharing mechanism between the public and private sectors in case projects suffered falling profits due to changes to state policies. Now that has come to an end of FBNC News today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more updates on Vietnam. Goodbye.